everyone, this is Brian from ActiveMelody.com. Well, in this lesson I wanted to do two things. I wanted to show you how to play a nice slow blues rhythm using some jazzier chords. And I also wanted to show you how to play a really simple yet powerful blues lead. So I've kind of combined both of those to the same jam track that's used in this lesson. In this video, however, we're just going to learn the first half of that. So we're just going to learn the rhythm part. If you want to learn the lead part and download the tablature and jam track for this lesson, you're going to have to go to ActiveMelody.com and look for EP034. That's the lesson number for this. So let's take a look at the rhythm. Alright, so before I start breaking everything down, let me go ahead and play through this on its own with no accompaniment so you have this as a reference. I'm just going to do the rhythm part, which is what we're going to be learning in this video. So here we go. Goes into the little solo part. So here's what happens. The first thing that happens is this little, it's kind of like a lead, I guess you could say. It's somewhere between a lead and a rhythm. But I think of this as kind of a call and response. So this is the call, and the response is, and so if we're to look at that call part, what I'm doing is I'm barring the first two strings on the 5th fret. So I'm just playing strings 1 and 2, and I'm using a downstroke with the right hand. I am using a pick, by the way, on this. Oh, and I should also mention you can do this on an acoustic guitar or an electric. This will work either way. So okay, so that's the first thing that happens, are those two strings. Then I take my ring finger and I come down here to the 7th fret, and I bar the first 3 strings, but I'm only going to play strings 2 and 3 like this. And again, it's a downstroke with the right hand, so it's together those two parts are. And then I'm going to bar the first 3 strings on the 5th fret, again play strings 2 and 3, and as soon as I play them, I'm going to use my middle finger and I'm going to hammer on to the 6th fret 3rd string like this. Notice the right hand, I'm only picking it once. And for those of you that are familiar with my lessons, you've definitely used that lick before. I use it a lot, or you've seen that lick before, rather. So, okay, so let's back up. All 3 of those parts together now sound like this. That should be the timing of it. Let me do it a little slower. Okay, so that's the first thing that happens. Now, after that, then I play these 2 6th chords. I'm going to start with an A6, and I'm going to slide down to a G6. So let me show you how to play that chord. What I do is I take my pointer finger and I push down on the 5th fret, 1st string. Then I take my pinky and come up here to the 7th fret, 2nd string, like that. So you can see those 2 are down. Now I'm going to take my middle finger. Let's see, I want to show this right. Okay, middle finger goes down on the 6th fret, 3rd string, and then the ring finger goes down on the 7th fret, 4th string. So that's kind of the shape that you're making, and that's what gives you that 6th chord. And you can play those top 4 strings rather to get a nice 6th sound. And that's what gives it that kind of jazzy sound. Now let me show you an easier way to make this this chord. For those of you that are familiar with how to make a D minor down in 1st position, you know, it's this kind of shape here. It's the same thing. The only difference is instead of using this, your middle finger and ring finger, you're going to switch and use your pinky and middle finger like that. And you just take your ring finger then and push down here. That's the shape that you're making. So I don't know if that helps, but that's kind of how I think of it when I go to this chord. I think I'm really just making a D minor with this extra note in it. It just helps you to create the chord a little quicker or visualize it in a different way. So okay, so it starts with that with it here. So my pointer finger is on the 5th fret. That's the A6. And then I slide everything down 2 frets toward the head of the guitar, and that creates a G6. Now when I'm doing it, I'm only playing I'm playing strings 4, 3, and 2. Even though you can play the first string, the only reason I'm holding it in reserve so I can play this. Here when I slide back up, I do that. I play that note. It gives you a little bit of a, it's just sort of a nice extra note to throw in. I could have done it the first time. I could have went, but I think it sounds better to play it like this. Anyway, it's just a preference thing, but either way, you're playing, the chord that you're playing is an A6 in that place, or a G6 in this position. Another way that you can think of this chord, this is the chord that's used in the classic song Memphis, Tennessee, which has been done by just about everybody. But you know that's that same chord. So some of you may be familiar with that song. That's the chord that's used. Okay. So let's back up and cover what we have thus far. We have so going between I should cover this. Going between that little call and then the response part. Notice what happens here. My middle finger, when it goes down, it stays down. Everything else comes off the fretboard. Middle finger stays down, and then the rest of the fingers fall in place around it to form that 6th chord. So, got it? So that's kind of the trick. You always look for, by the way, when you're switching between chords, always look for common ground. If you've got a finger that can stay, keep it there and let everything else work around it. So that's the first thing that happens. Then the next time through it goes. That's where I do an upstroke on the 1 string and then play 2 more downstrokes to play that A6 and then the G6. Okay, so that repeats twice. Now I come up and I play the D part of the song. And for that, it's this same little lick, but the only difference is instead of barring here on the 5th fret, we're going to come all the way up to the 10th fret and play those notes there. Now here's another way you can visualize what's going on. When I did this, so this song is in the key of A, so the first chord is an A chord, so that's the first chord. The second chord is the D chord. So if you're playing an A, when you do an A bar chord, you bar here on the 5th fret. Well, that's the first 2 strings that you're playing. So that's kind of that little lick happens there in this place because we're in the key of A, and that's the A chord. When we go to the D chord, if you think of a D bar chord, you would play that up here on the barring the 10th fret. So that's why that works up here. All right. So then the next thing that happens then is. And what I'm doing here is I'm playing 2 more chords. This is kind of the D part of the song, but the chords I'm playing, I'm sliding up to a D6th, and then I'm coming down to a C6th. And what I'm doing to create those chords is I'm just barring the first 3 strings on I'm starting here on the 5th fret, and I slide up to the 7th fret. Again, just the first 3 strings. And then back to the 5th fret, and then I kind of repeat that like this. So it's just a slide, strum. So slowly that part sounds like this, all together, both of them. Let me do it again. Okay, so let's back up. I'll play the first 2 parts together now. and then we repeat the A part. Again, same thing. Now we come to the E part, and guess what? It's the same little riff. The only difference is we're doing it down here, and we're assuming the nut, which is, you know, this thing right here, is the bar. So think of that as your fingers barring here. So you can play the strings 1 and 2 open without fretting them because the nut is barring them for you. So if that's the case, then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to bar the first 3 strings on the 2nd fret, but I'm only going to play strings 2 and 3. And then here's the little hammer-on part. Now remember, before we did it like this. Now I'm just hammering on, since again the nut is replacing my finger, I'm hammering onto the 1st fret 3rd string. So altogether that E part sounds like this. So you can see it's the same thing. And then after I play that, then I come up here and I play. So same thing that I did here on the by barring the first 3 strings, but this time I'm starting on the 7th fret. Remember when we did the D part, I started on the 5th fret. This time I'm starting on the 7th fret and I'm sliding up to the 9th fret like this. And then the chords I'm making, that's a D6, or I start here and I slide up to an E6th, and then I come down to a D6th. So interesting chords for the key that we're in. So then after that E part, we come right back to the A. And then it just repeats, and that's really what I'm doing for the rhythm. So that's just a different way that you can think about approaching playing a blues rhythm in the key of A. Instead of just, what I'm trying to do is give you lots of different tricks and techniques that you can use, so that when you're ever in a jam session or whatever, you can break out different ways to play the chords. And obviously you could apply different tempos to this. You could do this very fast. It doesn't have to be slow, but it's just a little more interesting than going, which is what most people do. I think if you can throw in a few jazzy chords like that, it really makes you stand out above most of the other guitar players. So let me go ahead and play through everything. I'll do it really slowly, and that'll conclude this lesson. So here we go.